Hi, I'm Don Reed Simmons, and you are inside the Sound Chamber. The International Sound Therapy Association is celebrating its 20th year. That's right, 20 years of sound therapy through the International Sound Therapy Association. And we're celebrating with a conference October the 2nd through the 4th, with an additional day on the 5th in Atlanta, Georgia. There's going to be a great conference. One of the things that I've seen in regards to sound therapy is that there are more people with elevated consciousness, with higher experiences than I've ever seen before. Sound therapy is really blooming in ways that I don't think anybody expected, but the quality and level of excellence is off the charts. And that's just like the guest that we have today, Jeralyn Glass. Jeralyn, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Don.
You know, um, I didn't know a whole lot about you. I knew about you, of course, but I didn't know a whole lot. I didn't know the depth of you. I want to read this just a little bit. Professor Jeralyn Glass is an internationally acclaimed singer, musician, and leader in the field of sound healing who has been sharing the gift of music medicine with the world for decades. She began her career on Broadway and went to sing on opera and concert stages around the globe. Today, she offers a unique alchemical blend of music, meditation, and high vibrational sound. Jeralyn helps people experience healing and transformation through sound frequencies that nourish the body, open the heart, and awaken consciousness. This is really the sweet spot. You're really doing it. And that's what I feel, that everything is coming together. It's not just one little thing. You're bringing the whole deal together. What I find fascinating is that you begin with music as a singer and you move into opera. Is that correct?
Yes,
And then sound healing.
yes.
I have a friend that actually was Jean Valjean all over the world and played that all over the world. And he's got an amazing voice. When you hear someone with that style of a voice, that quality of a voice, you realize you're in a different atmosphere. Now, there's that, and then there's opera. And that's this other giant leap. Tell me about your concept or your awareness of music, opera, the voice, and how that sort of informs you of who you are today.
Oh my goodness. So first of all, I almost did Cosette in Les Miserables. I was down to the last four, and it was very exciting. Um, so, Don, I like to think about each of us as our own unique instrument. Each of us has a different vocal print. We each have a different vibrational signature. And, you might be playing the flute, someone else is playing the violin, I'm playing the cello. Each of us has something very, very unique. And I think as a singer, first of all, I started studying voice when I was 11, and my teacher is going to be 104 next month. And she is an incredible, so I mean, that says to me so much about the just how music nourishes and singing, how it nourishes us. She did the voice of Ava Gardner in the MGM musical Showboat, and she dubbed for Lucille Ball. And her husband, who accompanied me as a young person, played for Ella Fitzgerald and Sammy Davis Jr. and Frank Sinatra. So I grew up in
Oh,
this kind of situation of just being nurtured by two incredible artists, right? And
mhm.
understanding that my responsibility was to tune my instrument, and that's a whole nother thing. Like, how we know how to tune a piano, we know how to tune a guitar or violin, but how do you tune the human instrument? And so we have to start from the inside out, and it's a lifelong process. So I think for me, my dream was to be on Broadway, and I accomplished that. And then I went back to school at Juilliard, and then I got into the field of classical music. And Annette Warren is her name, my teacher. She taught me all kinds of styles of music. So I grew up just loving all of it, whether I was singing in Italian or German or French or Czech, or popular songs or Broadway musicals, whatever it was. Music was something that gave me, in a certain way, my vocal identity. They went hand in hand.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That makes perfect sense. Tuning that instrument that we all have, and it's all very unique. What was the moment in time for you that you're on stages all over the world, your voice, with unbelievable reviews, and then all of a sudden, shing, sound therapy. How did that switch come about?
I guess, as a singer, like I remember one particular performance where I had to jump in. So I was known in Europe as the jump in queen, meaning that I could be called at the last minute to do a performance.
Yeah.
And I remember in this one particular instance, just feeling it was on the stage of the Munich Philharmonic, just feeling like, okay, you are a vocal athlete. That's how you've trained, and you need to stand grounded there and open up your instrument in a way, Don, that I think I'd never had before, because I knew somehow that this was a once in a lifetime experience. The soprano
Right.
was sick. It was New Year's Eve, so it was a sold out a hall of 3,000 people, and I had to sing some arias, and one of them was one I had never done before, which was the Tosca aria, and there it was. So you learn to be present. And so I think all my training and just my desire for expressing, I'm going to just say pure divine essence and pure love through sound, whatever, whether I was singing Mozart or Gershwin or whatever it was, or Puccini. Um, but and I became a professor, and I loved teaching students and teaching them how to use your breath support and how to tune your human instrument, how to identify it, how to free it, and how to express it authentically. But it wasn't until 2015 that my son passed away. So he was my only child, and it just was, there was no other medicine. There were medical doctors that offered me to put me on antidepressants, and I knew instinctively that, while that might work for other people, it wasn't my route. It wasn't the way I was to go. And so music became the medicine that held me in a safe container, a safe space, so that I could breathe and feel the incredible grief, which, many people will understand, because we all, not necessarily lose a child, I hope not, but we all will lose someone we love, and eventually our parents. And nobody teaches us, not really, how do you embrace grief as a part of life. And
Mhm.
music being, that was my world. Music being, such a thing that brought joy, that allowed us to cry, that allowed us to feel unity. There it was that for me, I ended up using the crystal singing bowls, which I have been playing for 19 years. So I had been playing them when my son was a little child, and he loved them. He'd say, "Mommy, mommy, bring me to bed with my sound blanket." And I'd put a bowl on his
Oh,
tummy and say, "Give me my tummy tickles." So he knew those sounds. And
yeah.
I found my way to using music truly as a medicine for myself, and then it just took off for cancer patients and hospice patients and veterans and my students, to go through blockages. So I knew that music always had a therapeutic aspect to it. I knew how it touched us, but Don, I had no idea until I sat in my own excruciating grief that music could wrap me up and hold me and make it safe for me to feel what I didn't want to feel.
Yeah. And I think that what you said, it made you feel safe to be able to do that. And
Yeah.
there's something very powerful about the world of sound therapy and how, I think of, once again, great singers. You sing, but you're not just musical, you're adding the world of sound into each note. And as you move up a scale or you belt into something, it's a tone that you're moving through. And so it's not far from it. And I've found over and over again, myself included, is that often we come about this pathway of sound therapy through our own personal pain, that we've moved through that. And nobody, I don't want anybody to go through pain, but at the same time, what a gift we have found through whatever it may be.
Truly. I mean, truly, truly, because I think I recognize that there is no medicines for certain things that we go through in our lives.
Yeah.
There's no magic pill for that, and I
Yeah.
would say, if there was a magic pill that would have brought my son back, I would have taken that immediately. But it's
Yes.
like when life gives us these challenges and we all have them, how are we going to create the safety for ourselves to breathe and feel them? Because unless we feel it, Don, we can't heal it, you
That's
know?
right.
We
That's right.
can't. So,
And one of the other statements I use a good bit is that sound has no judgment.
right.
And, when you're going through pain or you're going through heavy questioning and things like that, and to be able to sit with sound, just the fact that there's no judgment there, there's pure tonality, allows you to open up into that space of possibility, really.
Right. And I think what else is so interesting, what became so clear for me with the crystal bowls is that not only that, what you just said, but the sound quiets your thinking mind. So where you're busy making stories and, just composing something for yourself, it's like I found that the crystal bowls, my mind came to a still point and I
Yeah.
couldn't be the victim. It was like, okay, there's something pristinely beautiful in the grief. And I
Yeah.
think that was what was so helpful was music helped me to quiet my mind in a way that also nothing else could.
Right. Right. It really is a beautiful layer. I call it the magic carpet of sound, the crystal bowls, because it's a carpet where you put your things on and it glides away. It's just really a beautiful experience. You obviously have gotten deep into, especially the crystal bowls, and I'm sure many other things. But you tell me about your how you first found the crystal bowl and what was that experience like?
Yeah, so I was living in Germany at the time and having a full-on career as an opera singer and a professor and I came back home to the United States and I took a girls trip with my mother and somebody was giving an example and it was like, "Mom, should we go?" And sure, let's go. And it said Crystal Alchemy Singing Bowls and the second that I heard the first note was
Yeah.
like and I had been playing down there was like an incredible shop in Cologne, Germany, near where I was living, and
Yeah.
they had hundreds of the Tibetan singing bowls, of the metal singing bowls. So I had three of those. And like
Mm.
I remember I traveled to Japan for concerts. I brought two small ones and I'd put them on my belly. I'd tone with them. I'd do my warm up to them, but I had never heard a crystal bowl. And when I
Right.
heard that sound, it was like it reminded me of something somewhere inside me ancient that I knew that sound. It like I can't explain it. It was like it awakened a memory that I couldn't quite describe to you, but it was like I said to my mom, okay, I'm in, I got to buy some, right? And so I not only bought one, but I bought seven, and wanted one for each chakra. And at that point in time, I knew of the chakras from yoga, but I wasn't, I knew nothing about sound therapy. Although, interestingly enough, I had created a kids foundation in Munich, and we were supporting the kids foundation. The children did original musicals, and then the money we raised, about 30,000 euros every year, we gave to music therapy. So we were supporting music therapy, and there was a beautiful organization south of Munich, Tabaluga. But I myself hadn't studied it or wasn't,
Right.
I was a full on musician and singer. So
Right.
I didn't really know that aspect except for that music would give me goosebumps, music would touch me, music would unify, all those wonderful things. So yeah, it was,
Yeah. When
yeah,
you, that
it,
first introduction is like, I met at a crowded bar across the crowded bar, like, oh my God, it's you.
that was so familiar. And, what was so interesting is that years later, when I needed to use them for my own grief, I remember that the first bowl I played sounded like nails on a chalkboard. And of
Right.
course, as a musician, I'm going, "What are you doing wrong, Jeralyn?" And it's like, there's nothing you can do wrong when you play the crystal bowls. But what I didn't recognize in moving into grief therapy or music therapy was that the bowl, quartz being an amplifier, transmitter, and receiver, was reflecting my grief. And so it sounded like nails on a chalkboard. But I'll
Right.
never forget, I played for like 50 minutes it made me weep and keen and groan in a way that I couldn't express those sounds in talk therapy. But then I got up to go wash my face in the bathroom, and Dawn, I saw there was light in my eyes, and it was like, okay, something's happening here. So the sound is doing something. But that was my first introduction to my own personal use of this sound that I felt was just so impeccable, so beautiful.
Amazing. And
Yeah,
it's just magical, it is, because it's that alchemical key that unlocks something within our soul
yeah.
that is the allowing to come about. Well, I'm excited as our keynote speaker. You're bringing such great wisdom and experience with it. Tell me a little bit about what you're planning on speaking on at the conference, if you
I'm ver-
can.
I don't want to give anything away, but
I
um,
know, I know.
there's a lot of different directions that I have thought about going, and I've been privileged to present in Washington, D.C. at a big conference, Music is Medicine, that was really, really intriguing for me, being there with scientists and leading researchers and medical doctors, etc. Um, I think it's really music as medicine.
Yeah,
How can, and as a musician and coming from that field, like I didn't start as a music therapist or a sound
right.
therapist. I started as a living human instrument, right? And then
Yeah.
recognizing, like, what was so interesting when I first brought the bowls back to Germany, and my students, my voice students, let's say they had a blockage, I would ask them to take one of the sound bowls. And what started to happen was incredible to me. If someone had, like, let's say in the higher range, like as we go from C5 and we start going up through the passaggio, if somebody had a blockage wherever it was in their voice, I'd have them take one of the bowls and drop their jaw, and just make sound with the bowls. And
Mhm.
what I saw happen was past traumas arose. And I mean, I'm not a therapist trained as a therapist, but music held that, and the person could express what was coming up, and their voice opened up. So
Yeah.
I want to share about, I will share about
Yeah.
all the different experiences, what it's been like working for ten years now with cancer patients,
Yeah.
hospice patients and their families, with veterans and their families, with children, and then with regular folks. Like, how is music, and especially the music of the crystal singing bowls, how did it become a medicine? Like,
Yeah.
how suddenly did someone have a revelation, or a back pain, or whatever it was
Yeah.
disappeared? What's happening?
Yeah. It is, and we find ourselves in this day and time really growing into that concept that we're finding more music medicine, medicine sound, sound itself as not just a scientific experiment, but as something that's living, breathing, growing, and evolving, and bringing that medicine into our world is just amazing. There was a joke, I think, that someone's, went to the holistic doctor and said, "What should I take for this?" And said, "Listen to Franz Liszt twice and see me in the morning."
My friend Dr. Daniel Levitin, who's a famous neuroscientist, he wrote This Is Your Brain on Music. I heard there was a secret chord. He always says, "Yeah, Jeralyn, give me two Joni Mitchell songs, and then I'm better. I'm better in the
I'm
morning."
better, right,
And
right.
he is very close with her. So
Yeah,
yeah, it's really interesting. And then discovering that there's no one size fits all. So it could be Franz
yes.
Liszt, it could be Beethoven, it could be Pharrell, it could be, um, you know,
Joni Mitchell.
Joni Mitchell, it could be Led
Right.
Zeppelin.
Yeah.
It's what touches you. And I find that so interesting, because that empowers each of us to not just expect the doctor's going to say, okay, take this pill and this is going to do it, but it guides us into our own path of self-healing, which is
Yeah.
what happened with me. And I never would have imagined that I'd be having a conversation with you right now. Never.
Well, I am very grateful for the conversation that we are going to have at the conference.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about your experience of being in conference style arenas, and what does that do to the to ourselves. And we're getting a lot of people going, I'm not sure if I want to come, maybe I'll listen to a recording, which we're not going to have any, but what is that going to be like? Tell me what you think about people coming to be in person in a conference.
I mean, I feel like since we've all come through the years of COVID, and I feel like yes, you can experience music, uh, through loudspeakers, you can experience it on the computer, etc. But I feel when we gather in person, something electric happens. And I'll never forget the conference in Washington, D.C., because there was 8 performing musicians and the rest really were researchers, medical doctors, etc., scientists. And to feel that space get electric and to have, well-known scientists say to me, Jeralyn, what did you do? What was that? Because
Yeah.
we felt, and they described so many different things like a deep space of meditation, just an absolute relaxation, etc. So I highly encourage everybody to join us in person if you can. I love to see you face to face because yeah, this human interaction is something that's truly irreplaceable. And especially as we move into more and
Yeah.
more times with AI and all that stuff, it's
Yeah.
like let's be face to face, eye to eye, heart to
Yeah.
heart. It's electric.
I think we really found out during the COVID how much we need to be with each other. It's really powerful. Are you playing an instrument at the conference, during the conference?
Oh yes.
Oh,
Yes.
putting the big information below the fold here. This is awesome. So you're going to be bringing a few things. You're going to be playing a
Oh
few
yes.
things. That's awesome. Carolyn, do you have anything else you would like to offer before we go?
I just think for everybody, we talk about um, sports also being a great unifier, but with music, you're not rooting for any particular team. Music, we're rooting for humanity. And I just feel like, if we have the chance to gather together, let's do. And if we have the chance to share music, let's do it.
Brilliantly said. Thank you so much for really nailing that in because we really do. Thank you so much. Jeralyn Glass is going to be at the ISTA conference. It's going to be in Atlanta, Georgia, October the 2nd through the 4th, with an additional day on the 5th. I encourage everyone, click the link, get your ticket, come to the Omni Hotel in downtown Atlanta. That's where it's all going to happen. We're going to have such an amazing adventure together at the Omni Hotel in downtown Atlanta, October the 2nd through the 4th in Atlanta, Georgia. I am Don Reed Simmons, and you are inside the sound chamber. Thank you so much.